Have you ever wondered why old outdated English managers get hired again and again in Premier League clubs? You're not alone. With the comeback of 75-year-old Roy Hodgson in Crystal Palace, replacing a younger manager and Premier League legend, Patrick Vieira, the mystery behind English managers' low-performing history in their own country becomes a topic again. Not to mention the reuse of old English managers again and again. Today, there are more Spanish managers than English managers in the Premier League, with 6 to 4. Even if that number represents the status at this exact date, the history still shows that English managers have struggled in their own top division. Since the reconstruction of the English league system and the start of the new Premier League in 1992, only foreign managers have won it. You could say that a couple of British managers have won the league, with Sir Kenny Dalglish and Sir Alex Ferguson as the leading characters. They were still Scottish and not English. However, if we consider those two as exceptions, we can see clearly that British managers in general have struggled. So why is that? And why have British managers in general become unappealing to the big clubs? To simplify it, let's look at all the British managers in England, not only English. You might think of managers like Steve Bruce, Sam Allardyce, Roy Hodgson, Neil Warnock, and Sean Dyche when we ask you to name some British managers. And according to several of these, that's part of the problem. They might claim that English managers are considered to be unglamorous and therefore overlooked in terms of the top jobs in football, despite being more than capable and having great experience. If I were called Sam Allardyce, I could have managed Manchester United. Sam Allardyce suggested back in 2019 to TalkSport. We'll come back to this run of thought. But even today, many Premier League experts automatically think that you have to be British to perform in the league, even if history tells a totally different story. Just recently, Scottish expert Graham Souness made a point at TalkSport on the huge risk Brighton took when they appointed Roberto De Zerbi as their new manager. The risk was due to the number of short-time manager jobs he had done, but mostly because he was a foreign that didn't know our game. Only 1 week later, at the same show, Souness had to face being called a hypocrite when he claimed it would be a strength for British manager Steven Gerrard to have several jobs after getting sacked at Aston Villa. He even called it the Ranieri model, referring to the Italian manager as a typical short-term manager. Strange that he didn't mention it as the Allardyce model, when you could see that Big Sam didn't last longer than a year in any of his 6 last jobs since 2015. Remember back in 2009 when Mark Hughes was sacked at Manchester City and replaced by Roberto Mancini? Several native managers got critical right away, with Steve Bruce telling the press, "If we're not careful, all the jobs in English football will go to foreign coaches. I cannot see many English or British coaches working in countries like Spain, Germany, or Italy." Also, Sean Dyche has claimed that he would have coached a better team if he were foreign, back in 2016. And it's not only Souness who made his mind clear about foreign managers on TV. Remember when Paul Merson and Phil Thompson reacted to the appointment of Marco Silva in Hull, replacing Mike Phelan? The assumption that if a manager from another country and didn't know about all the local supermarkets in Hull and hadn't coached in the Premier League before would make them an automatic failure is impossible to overlook. He's not got a clue. The topic of this video comes down to 3 main questions. Do British managers get a chance at the biggest clubs? Why have English managers failed to win the Premier League? And of course, why are English managers so unattractive for big clubs in other leagues? The last 2 questions might have the same answer though, but let's start somewhere else. The first question is easy to answer by looking back a few years. At Manchester United, there has never been a non-British manager in charge in the club's history when Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Maybe that's why it was easy to point at David Moyes as the successor at Old Trafford. But he managed to drag United down from being reigning champions to finish 7th in the following season. And since then, United have only looked for foreign managers, with the exception of Ryan Giggs and Michael Carrick as interim managers for a very short period, respectively. Among the modern-day top 6 clubs, a couple of British managers have tried and failed in recent years. Hodgson was a complete failure at Liverpool, while Brendan Rodgers had one really good season, yet failing to win the league. At Tottenham, Harry Redknapp had variable results, but managing to get Spurs to the Champions League was his best result in a time when they were establishing themselves among the big clubs. Tim Sherwood, however, turned out to be far from qualified to manage a Premier League club, never mind one of the top 6 clubs. Frank Lampard was granted the opportunity to manage big club Chelsea. After taking Derby County from a 6th place in the championship to, well, 6th place in the championship. And even if the opportunity at Stamford Bridge came from Lampard being a legend at the club and that he would accept to work under the transfer ban Chelsea suffered from at the time, it's still surprising that Lampard managed to land the job at Everton later, which he wasn't fit to do either. Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard managed to get a league title abroad before getting his opportunity in the Premier League, even if it was a weaker team in Aston Villa. The only problem is that abroad, in Gerrard's case only, was at Rangers in Scotland. Not far away from home after all. So with none of these British managers succeeding in the Premier League, why did they even get the chance? You could say that it's actually because they are British, and some of them were great players in the league. They know the league and our football. Basically, the exact same reason that the British pundits criticize clubs for not considering when they go for a foreign manager that often turns out to outperform British managers. When some of these former local Premier League players get chances as managers in strong teams but still struggle to win anything, we need to look at why that is. Let's start with the thoughts of one manager that actually did go abroad and had some success. Manchester United's assistant manager today, Steve McLaren. Back in 2017, he shared his take on why British managers are not respected, as there is a perception that they have an island mentality. McLaren experienced success in the Netherlands, lifting the Eredivisie with FC 20. However, he often talked about all that he learned from working in other countries outside Britain, and that he encouraged other managers to do the same. One of the reasons why coaches in other countries look at British managers in some form of stereotypical way, with classic 4-4-2 formation and a rigid playing style, is due to the fact that they won't learn other languages and stick to what they know. Also, in terms of football, no wonder other nationalities believe this. Paul Merson claimed he could have won the league title with Greek side Olympiacos himself when Marco Silva was presented as Hull's new manager, being a former Greek champion. McLaren also stated that British coaches are not looked upon as adaptable, and that the only thing they're admired for is their attitude and will to fight, although it might take more than that to win. In other words, a stereotypical British approach to football is to play more with heart than with brain. And if you think about playing style, it's easy to point out the teams of Guardiola, Klopp, and Arteta. They're recognizable because of the way of approaching the game. If you think about Lampard, Gerrard, Allardyce, or Bruce, what style do their teams represent? I think if you gave this question to 10 fans, the answer would differ or not be very appealing for top clubs. Top clubs want a project that entertains and is easily recognizable. And if you look at the younger British managers that are now close to the top of the Premier League, it's a difference between them and other examples they mentioned earlier. Graham Potter is the manager that most recently got a deserved chance to prove himself in a top 6 club. Before reaching the Premier League, Potter had many years managing abroad and having success. With his own distinctive style, he managed to lead a small club in Sweden from 2 divisions all the way up to their top division, with successive promotions and crowning it with a cup trophy in 2017, resulting in the club competing in the Europa League the following year. Even if Potter has struggled initially at Chelsea, the work he did at Brighton was nothing but impressive. Also, Eddie Howe has done great with Newcastle this season, and Bournemouth earlier. Newcastle has overperformed the expectations, reaching the League Cup final and fighting for top 4 place in the league. But it's not strange that British managers don't travel abroad to compete. If they're to win anything, like a league title in some of Europe's countries, pundits will only claim that they could have done it themselves. In other words, titles outside Britain don't really count. And of course, there's money involved. With the Premier League being the richest league with the richest clubs, there are natural consequences. Therefore, the competition for a manager's seat in the Premier League is beyond other leagues in Europe. This makes it hard for any managers to have one of the 20 jobs, British and others as well. Thus, the demands for English managers to develop beyond the stereotype is required, if some of them intend to turn around 30 years of never winning the Premier League. Since 1992, all the big innovations have come from outside England. You could say Sir Alex Ferguson brought a professionalism with him to stop the drinking culture. Arsène Wenger took this even further and worked on technical empathy. Mourinho brought a cynical tactic to the league, similar to that Greece had won the Euros with the same summer. Conte made the 3 centre-backs common in England. Klopp brought the gegenpress, and Guardiola proved everyone who told him that positional play would never work in England wrong. In other words, when was the last time we actually had a genuine tactical innovation from an English manager? They'll have to bring some innovation to their league to compete for the top jobs, probably from within, as they rarely travel outside to learn first. Because right now, the big clubs mostly look to other places to become superior. Manchester United did this last summer, and Erik Ten Hag has improved the club in many ways. Check out what has worked for the Dutchman so far in this video.